The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Super Hero Productions. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tokucast Reviews, episode number... What was this again?
136.
136, thank you very much. Jacob and Marcus here to discuss Super Hero Senki.
Yes.
I want to begin by saying... Thank you to everyone for the well wishes. I was out sick last week, so we didn't have a review. But thank you for everyone who wished me well. I do feel much better now than I was last week, so thank you for that. Super Hero Senki. I know this has been requested by a few.
Yeah, I originally did not want to do this because
I know
anything involving Saber. God, I don't really know how to start with this.
I know how to start.
Okay.
We're gonna start with what I liked.
Yeah, we could do that.
And we could do good, bad, and terrible bad. The first 38 minutes of this movie.
I love how it's specifically 38, but
I
also agree
I know because I went back and I looked.
I know where it stops.
And I think the first 38 minutes of this are actually pretty good.
Not 100%. So, you know, we'll talk about good, bad, terrible bad. I liked seeing the older Senshi come back. Seeing Doggy, Chiaki, Kirby Blue.
Some older, some new.
Yeah, some older, some new. Having
Takashi Hongo himself, OG Rider.
We'll be talking about...
Makes a rare appearance.
We'll be talking about that. Rare. We see him once a year at this point.
I mean, now we do, but before Kamen Rider, before the Kamen Rider War movie,
yeah,
he was.
We'll be talking
he didn't come back
about the OG Kamen Rider in 3 weeks after this as our next review. The reason why it's so far in between from this one and the next is because that show is twice as long, and we're just gonna do the whole thing instead of splitting it up into two.
Yeah.
Having Aruto come in when he does. I think he should have been in this movie a little bit longer because he did not get a crossover with Saber because of coronavirus. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. But
I feel like he should have been in this movie more, especially because he shows up that one scene Transforms and he never untransforms again. We actually spend more time with Doggy in this movie than anything else.
I'm okay with that.
Same. I do love me some Doggy.
The fan service in this movie is very
mixed bag.
Mixed bag, I will say, yes. But when it hits, it really hits.
Yeah.
I think the scene between Shinken Green and Kirame Blue when they first meet in the forest.
So good.
That scene is great.
It is.
Because we know that Kirame Blue is an actor and he does a lot of period pieces. And to see him
one of them.
It's like him it's like this meta thing of seeing Kirame Blue in character as one of the characters he's played.
Because what is it? Seven Samurai pretty much?
No, it's Hakenden.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. It's Hakenden, which is a very famous old Japanese story. It's been adapted many different ways, but yeah, the eight dogs, story of the 8 dogs.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And but that, and then we have because the way the movie starts, actually one design choice that I really liked at the start of the movie is where we have the sacred tomes on the IKEA bookshelf, and it's the stories of all the characters, and I love how the Super Sentai are all uniform.
Yeah.
They all look like they're part of the same series, and then the Kamen Rider are all different books, different sizes, different shapes, and I really like that visual touch.
I like that visual. I wasn't sold on the premise.
Neither was I. Right from the get-go, and it's because, Saber is all about, it's, we're guarding the stories, writing our own stories, epic fantasy adventure, and the sacred texts that contain essentially the multiverse are just, in a satellite above us, and no one ever saw fit to mention that.
What else did you enjoy before we get into that? Because that's sort of where my biggest issue with this came in.
What else did I enjoy? Honestly, the Journey to the West part as well.
Yeah, same.
I thought was kind of fun.
That was fun.
Seeing Momotaro as Sun Wukong, I think, is a really good choice.
And then Omazeo as Buddha.
Essentially as the Buddha, and that was good.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that part. Mm-hmm. It was just stupid enough that I really loved it.
Another thing that I liked was I liked the different locations.
Yeah.
Especially like the first 38 minutes, I really liked those different locations.
Yeah.
We're in like that period piece town, and we're in the desert, we're in a bamboo forest, we're in, the actual forest, and it looks nice, it's well shot. The returning actors, they all do a really good job.
Yeah.
Everyone, and you don't see this often, but like everyone seems like they're just having a great time and they're happy to be there.
Until their scenes got
the actor who plays Owner because they go on the deadliner, he only has that one scene, but
every time this man shows
like you can tell that like
he loves it.
Yeah,
he loves.
Sorry,
that
my voice isn't 100% there yet.
That role,
but yeah,
he's just so good. He's just amazing.
Yes,
and it's like every single time he comes, it's been this show came out 07, 08?
Something like that. Yeah.
So
that was like right before Decade.
2 before Kiba.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so it's been a good 14 years. And I'm just happy he's still I'm going to come back, enjoy me. And I do. I did. Enjoy him.
I did, and it seems like he did too.
Also, was surprised there was no Decade in this one.
As in like Masahiro Inoue showing up. Yeah, that is a little surprising. We do get Decade for like a hot second or two, but
I think he said he was sort of done. Like he thinks that Tsukasa's role is done post Decade versus
I can understand that.
And I'm just like
he's moved on. He's moved on to Jenga now. He's got
I
am waiting for Goldstorm season 2.
So you want to be there, they're going back to the original universe, whichever one comes first.
I really wanted it because Jenga's within that. So like, I really want them to face. That's what I want. Goldstorm is amazing.
We just want either one, really. But yeah.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's
move on to the bad. Yeah. Oh boy.
So
we're just going to combine the two here.
We usually do.
The premise.
Is there anything that you think is just like bad that we can split away from the things that we really didn't like?
No, because the rest of the movie pretty much falls into the second category.
Fair enough. Okay. So
what did you just didn't like, but you didn't hate it?
I appreciated some of the stylistic choices that happen later with in terms of editing and in terms of editing and like use of green screen. I think there are some good stylish choices, but they feel so out of place.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh God, I hate this so much. It's just kind of like, maybe you should have. If the rest of the movie were like this, maybe it would have worked. But but it just feels like we have to be artsy now, and that's kind of how it felt to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's like a bunch of books that contain the multiverse that are floating in space above Saber that no one bothered to mention until now.
It's in like its own room.
In its own room on an IKEA shelf guarded by chains that we bought from Spirit of Halloween. And some guy shows up.
He's been like chained there the entire time.
And that is one thing. The inciting incident of this movie is guy wakes up and then he kills the guards. And admittedly, I think a pretty decent action scene where like they all jump at him and he like kills them all with like one swing. But then he breaks it, and then and then there's chaos.
Choass.
And
all the choass.
Okay, I wasn't prepared for that, but the Chow Garden is unleashed.
The biggest problem with this...
Go on, please.
...is I think it gives Saber too much credit. And it gives it too much power amongst, like, everything else. It fits in with the premise of the actual show.
I think it does fit in with Saber's narrative and its concept of stories.
Yes.
And other worlds.
Yes. It gives too much power to the rest of it, though.
The idea that, like...
He's in control of everything.
The idea that, like, that's where everything is.
Yeah. I really don't like that. I think it honestly gives everything else less agency.
Mm.
And it's just really poorly done in the narrative proper. The other biggest thing, and this is sort of tied into that, I understand that this is the 50th anniversary of Rider and the 45th of Sentai in this. Stop bringing real people into this. We do not need Shotaro Ishinomori.
It was weird. First off, I wasn't sure how old he was supposed to be. That was one thing that was like, are you in middle school? Are you in high school? People are talking to you like you're in elementary school. So it's like, okay, I feel like he was a little miscast. They should have cast someone who like looked the age they were going for, maybe. Which were they trying to cast true to life? I don't know.
I don't think it was miscast as much as it was poorly written. Because, like you said,
I can agree with that.
It felt like they were speaking down to him.
Yeah,
and that should not have happened. And then it's just like, for some reason, Ichigo knows that it was him.
He just knows.
I'm just like, how?
You are my creator.
It felt too meta for its own good.
It wasn't as clever as they thought it was.
No, it was actually really poorly
I
done.
think if I would love to see a Shotaro Ishinomori biopic in the style of like Tokusatsu Gagaga.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do a Shotaro Ishinomori biopic but have magical realism elements where he like has like a big decision he has to make or something troubling is going on, and one of his creations can come in and like give him advice.
Yeah, especially when we see like a Skullman. When we see like Skullman or something come in, who was the premise for Rider. Like having that come in, I feel like would have been a better idea than doing what they did here. I feel like it's
having Skullman or even like Cyborg 009.
Yeah.
Why not bring him into live action? That would have been cool.
It was just
because if we're going like full multiverse of madness and we're just gonna like merge the dimensions and every hero from every representation of every hero is gonna show up, then and if we're gonna and it's gonna be all about like celebrating the one who started it all, why not go hog wild and like go outside of that a little bit? I think I think this would have been a place where you could do that.
It feels like a tribute that wasn't thought out well. It felt like we have to do this, but they couldn't figure out exactly how to work it into the story. I feel like if they would have removed him from pretty much the entire thing, the movie honestly might have been better because it wasn't focused on him. The villain has to get to him and has him to do all this stuff to rewrite history.
I agree with you, and here's why. I mentioned first 38 minutes.
Yes.
There is a hard switch that gets flipped.
Yep.
Around like the 38, 50 mark.
It gets real
where all of a sudden, like where like they're, our heroes are out, they're fighting some bad guys, and the main villain, whatever his name is, Asbestos or whatever it is, comes in. Asmodeus, thank you. And he comes in and he sits down next to Ishinomori and he's like, you're not happy, are you? And he's like, no, there's too many heroes. And then he starts ripping the pages out of his sketchbook. Everyone disappears. And then the longest 40 minutes of your life happens when the rest of the movie happens.
Yeah, it gets real bad.
This second half of the movie is so
standard,
boring, and so messy. Because then they go into like Ishinomori's life story, and that's where they get really stylish, where they'll have like, like green screens and like crazy scene changes. It's like we're doing like weird things with perspective and things with walls like disappearing and like negative space, which is fine, but it doesn't work for this.
Nope.
It feels really out of place, like I said earlier, and then that happens, and then the final third act of this movie is
the big fight.
The
big fight. Let's talk about the big fight for a quick second.
This is a thing in Toku that I'm really starting to get sick of. Which is giant melees in big open fields with all the heroes against a bunch of bad guys This fight is so poorly choreographed and so poorly shot.
And so poorly ADR'd. Let me tell you something about this part.
Please do.
When people start saying catchphrases, and they're fighting on like the side of the mountain, and no one sounds like they do in their shows.
It sounds like they got one guy and just got him to record a bunch of lines, putting on a slightly different voice.
Off of the street. And just had them come in and do the voices. The person
They got Jiro the intern to come in and record everything.
I especially remember Lupin Red. And I think just because I really like that show.
Yeah.
I do! And it just sounds nothing
doesn't
like
sound anything like it.
No one sounds like they are supposed to. I'm sitting here like, you have a whole cavalcade of just soundboards and MP3 files.
You have archival sound that you can pull from.
You have so much, and you could have just put it on top of them. I understand there might have been more work, but it would have came off a little bit at least more genuine, because since you took a shortcut, it was bad. And I'm talking about for both Rider and for Sentai. It was more obvious for Sentai because there's more of them.
It is like we cut to a scene. It's like we cut to a shot. It's like a really wide shot, and there's like it looks like ants crawling all over each other because there's so many characters on screen, and they just like flash text of like, here's this character, here's this character, here's this character, here's this character.
There's no text.
No, there is.
Is there?
Yeah.
I blinked out. Because I'm looking at this, and they're just all just
Well, I mean, it's like the logo, and the logo is the text.
They're just saying catchphrase.
Yeah, it's like a logo pops. Like a logo pops up that says like, here's this character, here's this character, here's this, and you're like, wait, who is that? And then it cuts into another scene, and then it's like, and it just does that like 48 times because there's so many characters.
King's voice is for some reason super high. And I'm just like, who?
Captain Marvelous doesn't sound anything like Captain Marvelous.
No, he sounds like
that was one thing that I really noticed is when he shows up and he says like I think he says like the catchphrase of hot did he say, but he doesn't sound anything like Ryoto Ozawa. It just sounds like, who are you?
It sounds like somebody thought the Captain Marvelous from Ghost Sager was accurate, and it's not.
Oh boy. Some of the action in this show I think is good. In this movie, some of it I think is good. But I'm really starting to lose confidence in them being able to do large-scale battles because more and more it seems like they're just getting so messy. There's so much going on. The camera doesn't know who to focus on. And when it does focus on someone, it's so brief, and then we just immediately cut to the next thing. And just like, here's more nonsense going on. Like the fight in the bamboo forest is admittedly a cool location, but it does not look well choreographed. It like people are like, it looks like everyone is about to trip over.
It looks like some of the fight scenes in the OG Rider, which is not a good thing. That's not good.
Little Austin Powers-y.
A little bit, because you have a lot of people just standing there. They're like, there's a shocker grunt just standing there, hands down.
They're just kind of standing around, or they're just kind of doing this, and like people are like waiting for people to hit their marks.
It's too obvious,
or they can't hit their marks. There's too much because like the bamboo, it's like kind of a thick bamboo forest. There's like too much in the way, and no one can move. So it's just like, it's a good location, but for a one-on-one duel, a la like the one-on-one duel in Ninja Scroll in the bamboo forest, could work.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Something like even House of Blind Daggers.
Any wuxia film with a bamboo forest scene.
It's just too messy. You can tell this movie was a little bit rushed.
I don't know. Rushed maybe. Could have been. All I know is it's just not well executed. No. At least for me.
No, it's not. I like you said, the first 38 minutes are fun. Everything after that, please God, why? Make it stop.
It just, and then at the end where it's like, I'm going to Ishinomori Town. So it's like, is the afterlife named after him in this world too? And he meets with Takashi Hongo, and they have a little heart-to-heart. And I'll say this. There was one thing that I kind of liked where he says, like, even after I've passed, it's like I can see that my creations have still lived on, and like the fact that we are still getting new Rider, new Sentai,
every year, and
every year.
it's been fun.
And the idea of like if Ishinomori could come and see what it is that has become of what he's created and see all this legacy of heroes that have spawned from what he started. It's admittedly a nice sentiment.
Yeah. It's just sentiment falls
again,
flat.
I don't think this is the right movie.
Sentiment falls flat. We needed just a whole separate documentary just for Ishinomori, and I feel like that would have had a little bit more je ne sais quoi behind it. In this, but
Joie de vivre.
yeah, in this case, it feels so tacked on. It focuses too much on him, and he's not. This hurts to say, but I think it's
It feels less.
He's not interesting enough to follow in this movie.
Yeah, it feels less tacked on to me than it does just like it's like oil and water.
Yeah,
they just don't mix.
Nope. But yeah,
but I think that covers it.
Yeah, I watch the first 38 minutes and stop. You're not missing anything after that. All the fun part happened at the beginning.
But if you like this movie, that's great. Please tell us what you like about it in the comments below.
Yeah.
So join us on our next review.
Yes, in 3 weeks.
When we, Marcus and I, will tackle Kamen Rider, the first one. Just Kamen Rider.
The schedule's going to be a little bit wonky for the next little bit because after the first Rider, it's going to be another movie.
Yeah.
Because the week after we would be doing, well, not so much another review because originally it was supposed to be Go Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Revice is finished.
Revice is finishing up, so we're going to be doing that after the movie.
Yeah, we'll be doing that after the movie because the week after we'll be doing Revice the week after it finishes.
Mm-hmm.
But next week we actually do have a first impression to do.
Do we now?
Yep, Ultraman Decker has started.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, okay then.
Yep. So yeah, let us know what you think about this movie in the comments below. Let us know what you think about the first 3 episodes of Decker.
You do?
And let us know what you think about the original Rider. Don't forget to join us all the things. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.